Yeah,
How are you?
not too bad, yeah.
I couldn't find much about you online other than post pub could not get into club music. When did you start making music and how did you came across making it?
Like maybe I'm 37 now, so probably when I was like, I think I sort of started recording it when I was about 21, just like on GarageBand, and I was playing like the bass in like another band and things like that, and yeah, probably I wasn't really involved in like the songwriting, so I just thought, oh, well, just start writing my own songs, and then that just kind of took over, I guess, and then I guess here I am doing my own like little solo stuff. Well, it's probably since like 2015. I'm kind of starting to miss like playing with other people as well. So I think that's kind of going to be the next. Well, maybe more kind of in a live context. I think see what the next kind of record turns out like in that regard. So
Because your first EP was Night Walking. Was that the first thing you released as a
yeah, that was like with a small label in London, and then I kind of did another EP with like Paradise Palms here in Edinburgh, and that was really good. They kind of had an involvement, so it's kind of nice. I just kind of feel quite. Before then, I kind of felt quite kind of on my own, sort of like what am I doing, this kind of thing. I do get pangs of that still, but it's sort of yeah, I think definitely working with a label means to get things finished. So it's kind of yeah.
like a good kick in the butt, basically?
Yeah, well, I'm sort of realizing as I get older that kind of just involving other people to the point where there's kind of different roles, so that kind of even just kind of get if it's kind of asking friends for feedback, I'd be kind of too scared of doing that for a long time, and it's kind of think when you and then just like things like that would kind of help me kind of finish tracks or kind of change direction or get a kind of focus. I think it's working with people to basically get a kind of focus. That's what I've kind of learned, I guess.
Yeah, because as you said, you kind of started playing in bands with bass, and now I think like you don't really play bass. So how did you came to like? Because you sing a lot and you do these amazing lyrics. You also do a lot of electronics. So what kind of influenced you for that shift to come?
I think just kind of I've never really felt accomplished with like the bass or like any one particular instrument, but I quite like with them. It's probably more like like Ableton, using Ableton as was actually record a bit of this, record a bit of that, and I could kind of dabble in any sort of anything you could kind of get a sound out of really, and then start to kind of produce songs out of it. It's kind of that kind of worked quite well for me. Just yeah, I tend to listen to like the same album or same few tracks over and over again. I think probably when I like started listening to like New Order, and then that kind of opened up all the doors into that kind of, I guess, more like the electronic world. And just with them kind of like just the feeling of that sort of bittersweet feeling that I kind of get from their music, and obviously a lot of other music as well. But that's kind of pulls me, I guess, and music that's kind of got like a childlikeness to it or something like that, is a naivety or yeah.
Just a bit more playful, as you said. Like you did, you look into the music, sort of even listen it as a bit of a teenager. So it's kind of like a lot more like Ableton is. You can
Yeah.
just dabble, kind of do whatever you want. Then whereas just like, oh, I have bass,
Yeah,
I kind
yeah,
of locked into that one.
yeah. I don't know how I don't know how you feel, but I was like thinking like the other day, like I can't remember what I was listening to, but I was just like, oh, just like I feel like when a certain track kind of gets me, it's like I feel like it just reminds me of like when I was like 15 or something, and like in the car, back from my mum's car or something like that, and I don't know, listening to probably some crap at the time, but it was like, seemed like the best thing ever. But I kind of, I still kind of get that feeling, like exciting kind of feeling, and I guess when I'm kind of in here, sort of those kind of raw ideas are really kind of coming to form, and you're just sort of trying to, you might have a melody, and it's all quite really raw, but you can feel where it's going, and it's just that's probably like the best moment of making music for me. And then then you start doing the mixing and the production, which can get a bit kind of like tiresome, I guess. But yeah, there's different sort of moods come out at different processes in the whole production stage. I think I don't know what how do you feel about it, sort of when you're kind of working away on things? Do you?
Yeah, it's basically kind of similar. So the creation process is very kind of having fun and then kind of having a stream of thoughts put into like Logic or Ableton or whatever, like a cassette tape. And then like when it comes to the point where you have to like kind of clean it all out, and then it's like it is a bit more technical side, like the producing side, but it's still quite fun because you still kind of match stuff up. But when it comes to mixing, I think you kind of listen to it so long that you just sort of it becomes quite. It's not the creative process anymore. It's just more of like this is a job I need to do to finish
Yeah,
this track.
I'm not good at that. I kind of give up on things. So because I know like how I want it to sound, and a lot of the time I can't take it there myself. Yeah, that's kind of where I can get unstuck. So yeah, I've kind of been working with a mix engineer for a wee while now, so that kind of definitely helps get things finished. So
Uh, yeah, just So your recent release was 11 says.
the British term, I think, or word, I think. So it's kind of like a sort of cheeky snack in between breakfast and lunch.
And you did live session for Worldwide FM that you filmed in your family farm, which
Yeah,
was very fun to watch.
yeah. It was Malcolm who runs the label Global Warming that I released on. He sort of came through with that like idea to film something, and then I just really kind of I didn't really know what I was going to do for it, and just sort of I'll just go up to the farm, and the weather's good, and then I ended up just like rolling about in mud and stuff, and it was just got a bit silly, but it was good fun. It was like quite a lot, like with like 2 cameras and microphones and stuff. It was quite a lot of because this was all in COVID and stuff like that, so it was really just me doing it. And yeah, so once I'd kind of like got all the tech stuff set up, I was like, oh shit, I need to actually, like, I've not rehearsed for this. So, but anyways, I think it worked out all right. I quite enjoyed it. Kind of want to do some more silly stuff like that.
Were there like because there were like few moments where you just sort of like got like few branches and then just like dabbing the branches? Were they improvised?
I mean, they were the branches were there. They were a resource that was ready to be used. I just did like sort of three takes of each track, and then just picked the best one or the least worst one. Or that was just horrible to watch back, obviously. So I got like Malcolm edited it. So that was is that point, when you send something off to someone and you're just like, oh, is this like, if I just made a total idiot of myself? But then he was like, yeah, this is good, and then he did his editing thing with it. So
It's quite interesting because like usually musicians are taking themselves super seriously, sort of like even like on social media everywhere, just being like, oh, I'm like this cool artist doing like music. And when it comes to you're just taking a piss. You take obviously your music seriously and in the craft, but like you don't take yourself too seriously. So was it something that kind of came about within time, or you were like that from the beginning, just sort of like, oh, just have fun and just sort of do whatever?
Uh, no, probably when I was younger, I probably took myself quite serious, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it's hard work taking yourself seriously, I think. And I think with things like Instagram, it's like, in ways to like promote yourself as an artist, you're kind of sort of shoehorned into using these platforms, and you're sort of, kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't, almost. So you see a lot of particularly like electronic musicians that just take themselves very seriously. So
Yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot. It's just kind of refreshing because, yeah, as you said, it's very hard job to try to be like not best self, but sort of just represent yourself as like this sort of really cool sort of artist, and then kind of it takes the joy out of it as well because you just sort of
yeah, I mean, I remember, recently I had to like a gig and I was like promoting that, and just like after after like a week of posting stuff, I was just like, oh, I can't stand myself. Felt really, I just wanted to go and crawl into a hole. You know, when you just kind of just like, yeah, don't know, grasping for something that kind of comes with social media and promotion, self-promotion and things like that. It's kind of, yeah.
Also, going back to the instruments you use, so you kind of, in the same live session, you also used acoustic guitar, and you have started using a lot of acoustic guitar in your like Instagram posts and like stories, doing silly things, sometimes not so silly. Um, do you plan on using it more in the future, or is it just sort of a thing you just kind of?
Yeah, I think I've sort of kind of I've just finished an album, but I've kind of sort of started writing tracks for the what would hopefully be the next one. And there's a lot of yeah, I've just it's not here, but I've got this like 3/4 Spanish guitar, which is kind of featured quite a lot and stuff. But I think, yeah, I think kind of thinking more about playing live for maybe particularly this record that I'm working on at the moment, and I think that's kind of, you know, kind of live instrumentation, and obviously like the guitar is something that's it's more like physical to me than you know, certain other electronic instruments, for example. So yeah, and I've kind of been focusing on like electronic sounds for quite a while now. So it's I started off playing guitar, so it's kind of, yeah, just sort of come full circle. And probably started writing more songs, like as opposed to tracks, which, you know, a track like could be more for like a kind of, I don't know, that I kind of make that distinction between tracks and songs, you know. I guess like, you know, with the acoustic guitar I have like you know, more chord changes, you know, bridge, chorus, this kind of stuff. Whereas with writing, with making kind of more electronic music, it's kind of more kind of linear sort of tracks, I'd say. So yeah, I like the guitar for just trying something different for me, really. So
Do you use your guitar more for like traditional songwriting then, and then you just sort of sometimes you kind of transfer it to the tracks and then kind of do like all sound designy stuff? Is that what you mean with?
yeah, kind of do it like that to a degree. You can kind of just chop it up how you want and move parts around, and but I think, yeah, at the moment I'm kind of just, I'd say, kind of just been focusing more on like the voice and the lyrics, and I think the acoustic guitar kind of suits that quite well as a starting point, and then, you know, that might be something that gets totally removed at the end, the guitar. But I think for the kind of songs, and if it's kind of a storytelling type thing, I think the acoustic's quite a good basis for that. And yeah, like I say, it might be something that kind of gets removed at the end, because production can kind of really go anywhere, you know, once I kind of got these acoustic kind of demos down. That's the kind of way I see it at the moment. How did you give yourself parameters as well? I kind of like to.
Yeah, so it's kind of when I work with Maya, it's usually kind of we sit in one room, I play guitar, she sings, and then we just sort of put like some beats over it. That's what we did for this album, and then we just sort of jam together a few times and then see what comes out of it. And then sometimes we just remove the guitar completely, or remove like the drums usually completely, and just sort of chop it up afterwards. But yeah, it's sort of the beginning part is usually just very kind of basic.
It's quite funny when the bit you start with isn't there at the end. That's always quite. It's quite cool, really. I'm like got an idea for like a track, and it's like it's gonna sound like this, but obviously, you know, if I've listened to something, it's like it's gonna feel like that, but it's gonna be different, and you know, it's never it never works out. It's always like, yeah, just more when it's more, yeah, more kind of almost feels like an accident every time something good comes up. Anyway, that's the.
I remember like with Maya from previous EP, we did one track that was barely edited in 10 minutes right before her train was supposed to leave.
Yeah.
We were like, oh shit, like we've been here for 3 days, we haven't really played that much. We should record something, and we just like sat down, and it was like one of the best tracks. It was barely like edited, and we're like, wow, like how.
This is when it like defies like the notion of working hard. You know what I mean? It's like, you, you know, I do think you got to put the hours in to you know, you got to swim through the all the crap. But it's just like moments like that you described. It's like you just kind of didn't work for the whole weekend, and then you just bash something out that's like, yeah, it's a funny business, isn't it? So
I think more you try, like more you kind of more difficult it is, and then more can you get in the flow.
yeah, maybe it's the more, I think it's maybe the more you want it, the more you want something as well, or just, when your desire for results or something good gets too strong, it's almost like you forget that it's really mostly emotion, driven, and that's kind of, and that just runs on its own time, I suppose.
Forgetting what you kind of want from it and just like sort of losing yourself in it and just
Yeah. Well, I thought I downloaded Logic thinking I was going to learn how to do that, but I just started like, I was just like, yeah, I just didn't have the patience for it. I just kind of, I think I must have that the day every time I opened it, I started feeling like a bit creative, and actually, then I would just jump back onto Ableton and start writing something as opposed to just, yeah, that's what I need to do is kind of when I've sort of exhausted all my creativity, and then I kind of open up a new bit of software and try and learn it. That's what I should be doing, but I probably just rather go and do something else.
I don't know. I mean, it can be fun, but it also can be like, oh, I could do this 10 times faster in Ableton, for example. Like that's how I felt with Pro Tools.
I mean, if you learn it's always useful because if you learn the tools, they're like creative tools, aren't they, to use? So you're kind of broadening your options and things like that. But I've been ordering some like really basic toy synths, so yeah, that's going there trying to simplify,
Like an album after that will be just you with the like even smaller acoustic guitar and a bunch of like toys just sitting
Yeah,
around.
just try and make it as yeah, as simple as possible.
Why you have agreed to work on the remix for Mass, and then what was your kind of process while working on it as well?
Yeah, I think with that track, it was the interplay, the vocal line that I kind of obviously focused on in the remix, and the kind of bass line and the feel of that sort of reminds me of like Portishead, that kind of sort of mid '90s era, Death in Vegas and Massive Attack, things like that. It's kind of had those kind of feelings, and yeah, with a kind of sort of dirgy kind of bass line to it, and the percussion as well, which I just kind of kept as it was. Those kind of like, yeah, it was this sort of almost like a sliding door percussion type thing. It was like, or something getting dragged on the floor. That's kind of what it sounded like to me. So really unusual sounds, and I think maybe I stripped it back a bit, and so that they were kind of a bit more of a feature, maybe, if I remember correctly. I don't have a clue what you're singing about, and that's quite nice in a way.
Because you have done something, I remember you trying to sing in French or something like that. No, was it?
I was kind of again, this is just like a sort of like accident when I was trying to come up with a vocal for a particular, instrumental or whatever that I had, and like I had this book of like Gaelic poetry, and I don't speak Gaelic, and phonetically it's hard to, I don't know how to pronounce the words correctly, but I just kind of started trying to read along and pronounce, so that's kind of just where that came from, and then it just stuck. But yeah, that didn't last long, that phase.
Just sort of like use it as like a sound, or did you actually try to put meaning on of the?
No, it wasn't really. But it was fun though, because it confused a few people and sent it to a few labels, and so I was like, oh, this is cool. So I really like that you're singing French. And I'm like, okay.
I'm not sure how much you can share about it, but like when your new album is kind of coming out, is it quite soon or?
No, it's not really. It'd be like, I think it was like maybe a single would be out before the end of this year, and then yeah, I mean it's difficult at the moment because I imagine the album would be maybe, I don't know, May or something like that. But I think it's just with finals quite slow at the moment. So but they're probably springtime next year, late spring, I hope.
Will this be your solo album or will it be with
Yeah,
someone?
I'll just be Eyes of Others stuff. Yeah, that's solo at the moment. You know, that's my own thing. Yeah, I'm excited for that to kind of come out because first album, and it's been a long time coming, I suppose. So see how it goes. Yeah.
And then are you kind of like, because obviously you've worked so long on the full length album, and then are you working on something now? Kind of keep going.
Yeah, I just sort of trying to figure out how this album that I've done is going to translate live. So kind of trying to book a few sort of small shows just to kind of I've got one in July in London, but yeah, just to kind of get a feel for how to translate the album live, because obviously it's all kind of done in my own little studio, and it's sort of trying to any kind of teething problems and things like that to kind of figure them out, in the coming months. But I'm also I've kind of written about maybe sort of 10 tracks for what might be the follow-up album. So kind of really excited about them, but that'll be quite a while until they're like out, I guess. It's just the way it goes, isn't it? So,
Can't stop making music. Right.
well, by the time something's what it's like. By the time something comes out, you're kind of already your eyes already on like the next thing, isn't it? I'm sure it's the same for you.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Can't wait to see it.
Hopefully get food to Glasgow and catch up soon as well. So
Yeah. Cool. Have a lovely weekend, and then enjoy the sunshine.
will do. Right, you too.
Yeah. Well, see ya.
Go away from the modulars, get some sun.
Yeah. Well.